Hello everyone, Deborah Walker here today to talk to you about the leadership process. Our Lesson 13 discussion asks us to read case number 13, Selecting the New Vice President, from our Organizational Behavior textbook by Yulbein, Schermerhorn, and Osborne to answer a series of questions related to the main character, Professor Jennifer Treholm, and her issues involving her new leadership role as Vice President of Midwest University. Now, in order to answer these questions, let's briefly summarize the case. Now, Professor Treholm was very well liked on campus at the university and been in the position of Associate VP of Academic Affairs for over 10 years. Prior to that, she didn't really have much experience outside of the campus. She got along very well with everyone and was very proactive on different committees, and she had a reputation of always trying to help others. She was so popular that she was considered a natural to assume the position of vice president when the hiring freeze was over. Everyone was enthusiastic when she was appointed to interim VP of the university. Unfortunately, Professor Treholm had difficulty adapting to the position and performing her duties in her new role. Furthermore, she was met with resistance from some of her staff. Now let's take a look at the leadership process so that we can make some sense of what happened to the professor and answer the questions we're asked about the case. According to our textbook, the social construction of leadership happens when leadership is co-created in relational interactions among people in context. Furthermore, it's the everyday interactions that we have and communication between leaders and followers that helps to form a leadership identity. People figure out their identities as leaders and as followers by claiming or asserting their own position and by granting or bestowing an identity upon someone else. There are people who want to lead, and of course there are people that prefer not to. And sometimes leadership is thrust upon people whether they want to lead or not. And sometimes leadership is not granted to those who actually want to lead. Similarly, followership has its own social construct, with follower orientation determining how much power distance and autonomy a follower should maintain and how proactive a follower should be in supporting the leader. To complicate matters even further, everyone has their own implicit beliefs or biases about what qualities they think leaders and followers should possess in order to be successful. And that plays a role in granting identities and in cooperation. Finally, it's the quality of leader relationships or the leader-member exchange, also known as the LMX theory, that affects outcomes. Obviously, the better the relationship, the better the outcome. So now that we understand a bit more about how the leadership process works, let's apply it to the case by answering the questions from the prompt. Now, the first question was, what is the major problem facing Professor Treholm? Well, the main problem facing the professor was that she did not really understand her role as VP, as a follower of the president or as a leader to the faculty. Working as the president's number two required her to adjust her follower orientation and basically do his dirty work. Although she was considered a natural leader and was a proactive follower at heart, she was not really prepared to be a hatchet person or a yes person to an authoritarian president. She had no problems taking on assignments and leadership roles prior to the VP role because she was empowered to make her own decisions. Furthermore, the quality of the relationship she had with the president and some of the male deans was not that great. They did not grant her the leadership role because of their implicit leadership beliefs. So another of her problems was that she was a woman, taking over a role that had traditionally been held by a man. Her friendships with some of the others also presented a problem. When she took the role, because she tried to have it both ways, she felt obligated to keep going with the partying on Friday nights to maintain her friendships, and she had a bunch of other obligations that she was committed to do. So she spread herself too thin, trying to help others, and she was not able to delegate effectively. This basically stressed her out so much it paralyzed her ability to make effective decisions. She was also thwarted by some of the male deans. So the next question is, what would I do if I were in her position? Well, if I was in her position, I would try to get a better idea of what was expected of me in the role before I accepted the position, even though the president did lay out some basic ground rules for her. Furthermore, I would need to know that I had some autonomy in the decision-making process, because I would definitely not want to be anyone's hatchet person or yes person. When you're a critical thinker, it's kind of hard to just blindly, follow an authoritarian leader. But it is okay to support a vision if you agree with it and you know what your role will be in carrying it out. Furthermore, if I took the job, I'd probably cut out the Friday night sessions. I don't think there's a good idea to socialize to that level with co-workers, because it can cause problems in the workplace. When a boss is just too friendly and socializes with co-workers regularly outside of the work setting, it can sometimes cause a lack of respect for them in their role as leader at work. Furthermore, you can still maintain quality relationships at work and on occasion outside of work. I would also want to work to be sure that the men respected me first, by not showing favoritism to the female deans, and secondly, by soliciting ideas from them and showing them that I respected their ideas. And speaking of men, that leads me to question 3. Would a man have the same experience as Treehome? No. A man would probably have a much easier time in the role. The male deans did not respect Treehome, as I said before, because they had implicit biases about what it took to be successful in the VP role. They likely thought that her dedication and sensitivity were a pediment to her success, and felt that her being industrious and a good citizen relegated her to followership status. So if a man was put in that role, the male staff would likely see the traditional male traits such as strength, boldness, domination as being more suitable for a successful leader, and they would have more readily granted the man, his leadership identity. This was actually apparent when the guy they hired for the VP of Finance and Administration assumed some of the hatchet man role and began to be seen as the one who runs things on campus. And the last question, are any of your predictions about her management style holding up? Well, as far as my predictions about Treehome's success in her new role, I just say that I expected her to be more successful knowing all that she had accomplished. I thought she was a natural too, and that she was fully capable. But the buddy-buddy relationships with her colleagues and the trying to please everyone and having everyone like her was kind of a warning sign. Maybe if she were more aware of her strengths and weaknesses, it would have helped her to focus on learning how to say no and how to delegate more. This likely would have helped her to gain more respect. However, she wasn't really willing to be a yes person, so with the new man on board, it actually relieved her of some of the pleasantries of her role, and it helped her to focus on the aspects of the job that she was good at. When the players involved granted and assumed the social construction of their roles, the arrangement worked out better for everyone in the end. Thank you for watching.